English Daily, the podcast.
Your English journey starts now. Hey, English learners, welcome back to your podcast, the English Daily Podcast. I'm Anna, and I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yes, and I'm Jack. We're so happy to have you here with us for another episode.
Today's episode is all about goals and career, and we're going to dive into a really interesting topic, co-working spaces versus traditional offices.
That's right, and we're going to make it really practical for you because this is something that so many people are thinking about nowadays.
So whether you're just starting your career or you're looking to make a change, you'll find something useful here.
Let's dive right in.
So, Jack, let's start with the basics. When you think about career goals, what comes to mind first for you?
That's a great question, Anna. I think about career goals in two different ways. There are the short-term goals, like what you want to achieve in the next year or two, and then there are the long-term goals, the big picture stuff that you want to accomplish in 5 or 10 years.
Oh, I love that distinction. Short-term and long-term. Can you give us an example?
Sure. So for short term, maybe you want to learn a new skill this year or get promoted within the next 18 months. And for long term, maybe you want to become a manager or start your own business or retire by a certain age.
That makes so much sense. I remember when I first started working, I didn't really have a clear plan. I was just taking whatever opportunities came my way.
Oh, really? How did that work out for you?
Well, it worked out okay, but I think I could have been more strategic. Looking back, I wish I had sat down and really thought about what I wanted for my career before just jumping in.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. It's like we get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to think about the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that's actually one of the things we want to talk about today, how to be more intentional about your career path. And one of the big decisions people face nowadays is where they're going to work.
Yes, and that's where the co-working versus traditional office debate comes in. It's such a relevant topic right now.
Before we get into that, though, let's talk a bit more about goal setting. What would you say is the most important thing for someone just starting to think about their career goals?
I think the most important thing is to be honest with yourself about what you actually want. Not what you think you should want, not what your parents want, not what society expects, but what actually makes you happy and fulfilled.
That's really deep, Jack. So it's about aligning your career with your personal values.
Exactly. And that brings us to the whole question of work environment, too, because the place where you work can have such a huge impact on how you feel about your job.
So true. And that's why we're going to compare co-working spaces and traditional offices today. I think a lot of our listeners are probably wondering which one is better for their career.
Yeah, and we'll get into all the details, but first, let's just acknowledge that there's no one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends on the person and their specific goals.
So, Jack, let's talk about work environment. How important do you think the physical workspace is to overall job satisfaction?
Oh, it's huge. I really believe that your environment shapes your mindset and your productivity. When I worked in a traditional office, I felt a certain way, and when I tried working from a co-working space, it was a completely different experience.
Can you describe the difference? What did each environment feel like?
Sure. So in a traditional office, there's a sense of structure and hierarchy. You have your own desk, or maybe you share one, and everyone is kind of in their own world. There's often a quiet atmosphere, or sometimes it can be too noisy with phone calls and meetings.
I see. And what about the co-working space?
Oh, co-working spaces are so different. They're designed to be collaborative and community-oriented. They're often communal areas where you can meet other professionals, grab a coffee, and just chat. It feels more alive, I guess.
Sounds like you really enjoyed that experience.
I did, but I'll be honest, it wasn't for every situation. There were times when I needed complete silence to focus on deep work, and the co-working space could be a bit distracting.
That's a fair point. So it's not perfect for everyone?
Definitely not. I think it really depends on your personality and what kind of work you're doing. Some people thrive in that environment, and others need more solitude.
What about work-life balance? Do you think the environment affects that?
That's a great question. In a traditional office, there's often a clearer boundary between work and personal life. You leave the office and you're done for the day. But with co-working spaces, especially if they're close to where you live, it can be harder to disconnect.
Oh, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it's a real consideration. I've heard some people say they work longer hours when they're in a co-working space because it doesn't feel like work in the traditional sense.
That's interesting. So the line between professional and personal can get blurred?
Absolutely. And that's something to think about when you're setting your career goals. What kind of boundaries do you need? What helps you maintain a healthy balance?
That's such an important question to ask yourself before choosing where to work. Thanks for sharing that, Jack. Okay, so let's get into the specifics. For our listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain what a traditional office is versus a co-working space?
Of course. So, a traditional office is what most people picture when they think of going to work. It's usually a building or a floor of a building where a single company operates. Everyone works for the same organization, and there's a clear chain of command.
Right. And what about a co-working space?
A co-working space is different because it's a shared workspace. Multiple different companies and independent professionals work there, each with their own desk or office within the same building. It's like a community of different businesses working under one roof.
That sounds fascinating. What are some of the main benefits of a traditional office?
Well, one big benefit is stability and predictability. You know exactly where you're going to be every day and everything is set up for you. IT support, supplies, meeting rooms. There's also a stronger sense of belonging to a specific organization.
That makes sense. And the benefits of a co-working space?
The flexibility is huge. You can often rent a desk by the month or even by the day without a long-term lease. There's also the networking opportunity. You're surrounded by people from all kinds of industries, which can lead to new connections and even business partnerships.
Oh, that's a great point about networking. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, it's like a built-in professional community.
Curious, what about cost? Is one more affordable than the other?
Generally, co-working spaces can be more affordable for freelancers and small businesses because you don't have to pay for an entire office yourself. But for larger companies, a traditional office might actually be more cost-effective in the long run.
So it really depends on your situation. Got it. Jack, you've mentioned that co-working spaces are becoming more popular. Can you tell us a bit about how this trend has grown?
Oh, it's been incredible. When I first heard about co-working spaces about 10 years ago, they were still kind of a novelty. It was mostly freelancers and startups using them. But now, they're everywhere, and all kinds of professionals are using them.
Really? Even big companies?
Yeah. In fact, many large corporations now have what they call flexible workspaces or activity-based working, which is kind of like bringing the co-working concept into the traditional office environment.
That's fascinating. Why do you think this shift has happened?
I think there are a few factors. First, the nature of work has changed. More people are working remotely or in hybrid setups now, and they need somewhere to work besides their home office. Second, there's been a cultural shift toward valuing flexibility and work-life balance. And third, the rise of the gig economy and freelancing has created a whole new workforce that needs flexible workspace solutions.
That's such a great analysis. I never thought about it that way. So it's really driven by broader changes in how we work?
Absolutely. The workspace is just a reflection of how work itself has evolved. And that's something our listeners should keep in mind when they're thinking about their career goals.
What about the future? Where do you see this going?
I think we're going to see even more hybrid solutions. The traditional office isn't going away completely, but it's going to look different, and co-working spaces will continue to evolve to meet the changing needs of workers.
That's such an exciting perspective. Thank you for sharing that, Jack.
Of course, this is such an important topic for anyone thinking about their career today.
So, Jack, let's get personal for a moment. Have you ever made a major career change? How did you decide to do that?
Actually, yes. I made a pretty significant pivot about 5 years ago. I was working in corporate finance, and while it was financially rewarding, I didn't feel fulfilled. I realized that my goals had changed, but my job hadn't.
That sounds like a tough situation. What made you finally decide to make a change?
It was a combination of things. I had been unhappy for a while, but I kept making excuses. The money was good, I had seniority, it would be risky to start over. But one day, I just had a moment of clarity. I asked myself, do I want to look back and regret not trying?
That's so brave, Jack. How did you figure out what to do next?
I took some time to really think about my values and what I wanted. I made a list of what I enjoyed doing, what I was good at, and what kind of lifestyle I wanted. And that's when I realized I wanted to work in a more creative, flexible environment.
And that's when you tried co-working spaces?
Yes, I started working from co-working spaces while I was making the transition, and it was perfect. It gave me the structure I needed without the pressure of a traditional office. Plus, I met so many interesting people who were also pursuing their own paths.
That's such an inspiring story, Jack. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about making a similar change?
My advice would be to start with honest self-reflection. What do you really want? What's driving your dissatisfaction? Is it the work itself, the environment, or something else? And then don't be afraid to experiment. You don't have to make a huge leap right away.
What do you mean by experiment?
Try different things. If you're thinking about switching from a traditional office to a co-working space, try working from one for a week or a month before committing. See how it feels. Talk to people who are already doing what you want to do. Gather as much information as you can.
That's really practical advice. I love the idea of testing before you commit.
Yeah, and remember that it's okay to change your mind. Not every experiment has to lead to a permanent change. It's all about learning what works for you.
So, Jack, as we wrap up our conversation, let's look at the big picture. What do you think people should consider for long-term career planning in today's world?
That's a great question, Anna. I think the most important thing is to stay adaptable. The world of work is changing so quickly now, and the jobs that exist today might not exist in 10 years. So being willing to learn and evolve is crucial.
That's so true. What about specific skills? Are there things people should focus on?
I think soft skills are becoming increasingly important. Things like communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. These are skills that machines can't easily replicate, and they'll serve you well no matter how the job market changes.
I wonder about the physical aspect of where we work. How do you think that will evolve?
I think we're moving toward a more hybrid model. Many companies are realizing that they don't need everyone in the office every day, but they also see the value of in-person collaboration. So we'll probably see a blend of remote work, traditional office time, and co-working spaces.
That's an interesting prediction. So, all three options?
Exactly. And I think that's actually good news for workers, because it means more choice. You can find the arrangement that works best for you and your goals.
I love that perspective. It really empowers people to take control of their own career journey.
And that's what it's all about, right? Your career is your journey. Don't just follow what everyone else is doing. Think about what you want, make a plan, and then go for it.
That's a perfect note to end on, Jack. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you to all our listeners for joining us today.
Now let's dive into some of the key phrases we used in today's conversation. Are you ready to learn some new vocabulary, everyone?
Yes, these are all really useful phrases for talking about career goals and workspaces.
Let's start with career goals. This refers to your professional ambitions and what you want to achieve in your working life. Example, one of my career goals is to become a team leader within the next 2 years.
Great one. Next is short-term and long-term. Short-term means something you want to achieve in the near future, usually within a year or two. Long-term means something you want to achieve over a longer period, like 5 or 10 years. Example, I have both short-term and long-term goals for my career.
Let's talk about work-life balance. This is about how you manage your time and energy between work and your personal life. Example, she's very focused on maintaining a healthy work-life balance.
Next is traditional office. This refers to the conventional workplace where a single company operates with a formal structure and hierarchy. Example, after working from home, she missed the structure of a traditional office.
And co-working space is a shared workspace where different professionals and companies work in the same building. Example, he rented a desk at a co-working space to network with other entrepreneurs.
Let's add flexibility. This means having the ability to adapt and change, especially in terms of schedule or location. Example, one of the benefits of freelancing is the flexibility it offers.
What about hierarchy? This refers to the arrangement of people in an organization according to their rank or level of authority. Example, in a traditional office, there's a clear hierarchy between managers and employees.
Next is communal. This describes something that is shared by a group of people. Example, the communal kitchen where everyone can prepare lunch.
Let's talk about networking. This means building professional relationships with other people in your industry. Example, attending events is a great way to network with potential clients.
The gig economy refers to a labor market characterized by short-term contracts and freelance work rather than permanent jobs. Example, the gig economy has grown significantly in recent years.
What about remote work? This means working from a location outside of a traditional office, often from home. Example, many companies now offer remote work options to their employees.
Next is hybrid. This describes a combination of two different things. In work context, it often means blending office and remote work. Example, her company adopted a hybrid work model.
Let's add fulfilling. This means giving satisfaction and a sense of purpose. Example, she wanted a career that would be both challenging and fulfilling.
Pivot is an interesting one. It means to change direction or strategy. Example, the company had to pivot during the pandemic to survive.
What about commitment? This refers to a promise or pledge to do something. Example, making a career change requires a serious commitment of time and energy.
Next is adaptable. This means able to adjust to new conditions. Example, being adaptable is essential in today's rapidly changing job market.
Let's talk about critical thinking. This means analyzing facts to form a judgment. Example, critical thinking is a valuable skill in any profession.
Soft skills refer to personal qualities that help you work well with others, like communication and teamwork. Example, technical skills will get you the job, but soft skills will help you keep it.
What about experiment? This means trying something to see what happens or what works best. Example, she decided to experiment with working from a co-working space for a month.
Next is mindset. This refers to your attitude or way of thinking. Example, having a growth mindset is important for career development.
Finally, let's add empower. This means to give someone the power or confidence to do something. Example, we want to empower our listeners to take control of their career journeys.
Those are all really useful phrases. Try using them in your own sentences to practice.
Now it's time for some reflection questions. Think about your own goals and experiences as you consider these.
And don't worry, there's no right or wrong answer. This is just for you to think about in practice.
Question 1. What are 3 career goals you would like to achieve in the next 5 years? Think about what truly matters to you, not what you think you should want.
Question 2. Do you prefer working in a traditional office, from home, or in a co-working space? What are the reasons behind your preference?
Question 3. How do you currently maintain work-life balance? Are there any changes you would like to make?
Question 4. Have you ever made a major career change? If so, what motivated you? And what did you learn from the experience?
Question 5. What soft skills do you think are your strongest? Which ones would you like to develop further?
Question 6. How do you stay adaptable in your career? What strategies do you use to keep learning and growing?
Question 7. What does success mean to you? Is it about money, fulfillment, work-life balance, or something else entirely?
Question 8. If you could design your ideal workspace, what would it look like? What elements would be most important to you?
Question 9. How do you network and build professional relationships? What approaches work best for you?
Question 10. What advice would you give to someone who is unhappy in their current job but afraid to make a change?
Take your time with these questions, and remember, your answers can evolve as you grow and learn.
That's all for today's episode, everyone. We hope you found it useful and inspiring.
Don't forget to subscribe and join us next time for more English learning adventures.
Thanks for listening and keep practicing.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Your learning journey doesn't stop here. Keep improving your English. Click the next video or explore more episodes we've picked just for you. See you in the next lesson.